Give us a little bit of an update, and then we're going to start with Miss Abigail Kahrs, and then we'll have Chad Reznicek, which he has been on here before, but this is a completely different topic that he is going to share with us. But first, we're going to let Dr. Tara Haskins give us a little bit of an update
Great.
On AgriSafe.
Yeah. And really, I'm going to share my screen. Let me go ahead and pull this up. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yep. Everything looks great.
Okay, great. So in terms of just a couple of updates, since we have such a robust audience with this meeting now, just so proud of all the work that Carrie's done, bringing people to this space to learn from one another. AgriSafe just wanted to put out there that we still have some funded seats with our training Farm Response. This is sort of our flagship behavioral health training that has now been recognized by the Suicide Prevention Resource Center as best practices and is listed in their registry. So we have some available seats. This large swath that you see in the middle of the state is our CS Cache region, but we also have seats that are available in some of these other states as well. So if you know of an individual that might be interested in taking it, they could submit an inquiry form to take Farm Response for free. We're always fielding new requests. We just had one from Michigan that's interested in purchasing seats. And so always come back to us. If an individual either resides in a state or is licensed as a healthcare professional of any type in that state, they are eligible to take it in one of the funded states. So you can send any questions about this training if you like. You can certainly go to this page. Maybe I'll ask Carrie to put the link.
Kara, I accidentally muted you. I'm so sorry.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, where did I leave off, Carrie? I was asking you to put the link to this page.
The link in the chat for you, Tara.
Perfect. So anyway, you can reach out to me. You can come to this page and see all the information on it. The really nice thing about Farm Response is that we also have a bonus for individuals that are providing direct behavioral health care. They can join, I'm sorry, wrong behavioral health project. They can join the AgriStress provider directory at no charge. And this is a public facing directory, and it's also used by our AgriStress helpline, our crisis line for ag communities, so that individuals can find a professional that's had some training about agriculture. So I just kind of want to put that out there again. We're getting ready to do some campaigns. You may see some things coming through Constant Contact. Your organization can purchase more than one seat. If you have an organization that is interested in buying a bulk seat and you want to be able to track the uses of those seats, please get with me and we can talk about having a unique code for your organization, because we can track the uses on the backside of the Learning Lab. And then just a little plug, AgriSafe is now doing CALM trainings, counseling, or conversations on access to lethal means for communities. We do have some funded training opportunities in the CS Cache region. But if you're interested in other states, reach out to us and we can give you an idea of what it would take to bring us there or to do a virtual training. And then lastly, we're also starting to do naloxone training for communities. If we do a training face-to-face, we actually provide samples of naloxone for the learners. And this is really to just get people comfortable with the use of naloxone in the community and understand how that works and what the steps are that they need to do to keep themselves safe, as well as the individual that needs help. And that's all I've got today, Carrie. I'm going to stop sharing.
All right. Thank you. All right, we are going to have Miss Abby, also from AgriSafe. She's going to share with us today some interesting facts and changes with the youth curriculum, and I believe that involves some vaping. Is that right, Abby?
Yeah, we're beginning, and well, we have a new topic in development that I'll talk to you guys about. I'll go ahead and share my screen now.
Thank you.
So let me find, there we go. Always gotta move everything out of the way with Zoom. So my name is Abigail Kahrs. I'm the program coordinator with AgriSafe Network. I just kind of wanted to update you guys on some of our youth mental health programming and youth programming in general. So as a part of our commitment to protect the people who feed the world, we strive to educate teenagers and young adults about crucial agricultural health and safety topics. And to date, we've developed 6 Invest in Your Health topics or curriculum, which is youth facing. And in the past 2 years, we've added more resources to these curriculums, which also includes 3 take it home modules that were developed on an articulate software. So this is kind of what I'm talking about, and I can show, I'll show what it looks like on the actual web page. But we have Cultivating a Healthy Mind, which many of you may know, but if you're unfamiliar, this curriculum is designed for teachers, staff, 4-H and FFA leaders, and anyone else who works with young adults. And there's different ways to be trained on our Invest in Your Health topics. So you can either do a train the trainer, which is where someone from AgriSafe would go and train these teachers, extension staff, 4-H, FFA leaders, and then they would take the knowledge and the curriculum that we give them to then teach their students or their communities. Or you could do what we're offering now, which is a self-paced module that's student and young adult facing, where they just go in and can take it as if you want it to be like a homework assignment, or you're just curious and want to take a module on cultivating a healthy mind. And then there's also always the option for either AgriSafe staff or our total farmer health coaches who can come in and teach the group that you're interested in getting this information. So after the next slide, I'll go back and show you guys how to access the self-paced one if you're interested. But Cultivate a Healthy Mind, and if you're unfamiliar, it really just helps give a better understanding of stressors that are unique to rural and or ag communities, and also helps the students realize or recognize basic signs or symptoms of stress, anxiety, or other mental health concerns, so that way they can act on it and help a friend, help themselves, help a family member, things like that. And then we also have a new topic in development. I'm hoping for it to be ready to be presented in early June, but it's called No Safe Way to Vape. It's about a 45-minute lesson that will help teach the health risks of vaping for youth with a focus on agricultural communities. The teacher facing, since I did mention we do have, train the trainer versions as well as student versions, the train the trainer version would kind of help teachers get a better understanding about vaping and how to become trusted messengers of vaping health risks for their students in a way that will allow them to have a better result of students, absorbing the information and really taking it in, as opposed to being like, it's just my teacher telling me not to do it, who cares? And then the student facing would, the aim is to help those students learn about the facts about vaping, and then using what they've learned through these facts to make informed choices on, the risks associated with vaping, and whether or not, make informed decisions to not vape. Hopefully that's the intended result. We would hope that they would not want to vape based off of it, but can't control everyone, unfortunately. But so I'll stop sharing there, and I will show you guys how to get to, where'd you go? Okay, there you go. So if you're interested in doing our self-paced learning modules, or you're interested in showing friends, family, sons, daughters, whoever, you can go to our homepage and it'll be under Invest in Your Health. You can just click that, and then when you scroll down, anything that has this green banner, so we have 3, like I mentioned, that have interactive modules that you can participate in. Anything with a green banner has an interactive module associated with it. So that would be our Head to Toe, which is our personal protective equipment module, Stay Cool, which is talking about heat-related illnesses, as well as the Cultivating a Healthy Mind. So if you're interested, you can click on this link and the page should look like this. And from here, it'll start the training. Oh, sorry about that. And it goes through different sections, and then at the end, they get a certificate where they can either print or take a photo of to share to their instructors or anyone who wants to see it, or if you're requiring students to do it, you can use that as a way to, you know, determine who took it and stuff like that. I can also put the link in the chat as well. Oh, you already did that.
I
Thank
just
you.
did that, Abby. Yeah.
So right now I see, are the online trainings available in Spanish? For Invest in Your Health, they're not right now, but that's definitely something that we have been considering, trying to get more of our trainings to be translated in different languages so that way they can reach more people. So it's definitely a goal, but currently we don't unfortunately have any available in Spanish for Invest in Your Health. But I will make sure we make that a little bit higher on our priority. But that's all I have. If anybody has any questions or comments or concerns, I could put my email in the chat. Or even if you just have a random thought you want to tell me, that's fine too.
Abby, this is Tara.
Yes.
Oh, I had to step away just for a moment. Did you share with the audience how the Invest in Your Health team landed on the topic of vaping?
Oh, no, I didn't. Sorry, I glossed over
Yeah,
that.
I think that's an interesting aspect.
So we knew we wanted to do something. We wanted to add a new topic to our Invest in Your Health series, or our Invest in Your Health course, so to say, but we weren't sure which topic to do. And we know that smoking and stuff is bad, and it is still prevalent in some areas. And but then we also knew, the DARE program and other programs kind of have that. We didn't want to reinvent the wheel, essentially. So we decided that at National FFA, which we go to every year, we go to the exhibit and we exhibit. We kind of asked the advisors, parents, students, like, what are some of these like things that you're concerned about for your students or for yourself or for your friends? And a lot of people expressed concern about vaping. And so that's why we kind of decided to do vaping. And it's hard because it's supposed to be a module that's for students to learn like in a classroom setting, and classes are typically, like 45 minutes or so. So like trying to fit all this important information, we wish we could do all the substances that could be harmful that, students may be partaking in. But as of right now, we're doing vaping. So that's how we landed on that topic. I think we got information from 180 parents, adult advisors, and then 580 students. And we kind of did like an average to figure out, okay, what is the problem or what is the concern that we want to address this go around? And then hopefully that continues and we creating and making it even more robust.
Yeah.
And then yes, the links for teachers to assign modules is new. We're hoping to get the rest of them, but right now we only have 3. It is kind of a intricate process, but we do have plans.
I love the idea that the ag teachers can take this into the classroom, also 4-H and everything. Abby Chantilly asked, can the people in New York State also take the youth trainings?
Yeah, so that's a good thing about Invest in Your Health. It's really available for anyone at no cost. So wherever you are, you can always take it through our learning lab, or if you want to do the self-paced modules, you would do that through our website. But yeah.
Yeah, Julie says the same thing I was thinking. She says vaping continues to be the #1 youth health issue when we assess counties annually via the Texas 4-H. She wants to talk to you about coming to her Healthy Texas Youth Ambassador Summit.
Yeah, of course. And we've kind of been in contact with Julie too, so that's
Good.
even more exciting, even more opportunities, but thank you.
Yeah, when I saw that vaping was included, it is still, even though the information is coming out there that it's not really a better alternative to smoking tobacco, in our rural area, it is still very, very highly used. And I hate to admit, as much as I've talked to my kids, my son, the last time I opened his truck door, a cartridge fell out, and I was, you know, you know.
Yeah.
So I keep hitting those reminders to him, but same thing. Renata says in Colorado, suicide is the #1 youth health issue.
Yeah. And Abby, I hope you don't mind if I share, but both Cultivating a Healthy Mind and the vaping module, AgriSafe had reviewed by our behavioral health specialist, Olivia Bury, who is also sees adolescent clients in counseling sessions. So we felt like she would have a good window into what would resonate with those youth. So.
And Abby, it's Alberta here in Maine. One of the things that I think we could focus on is now today, there is numerous school-based health centers all around the country. And they're in different school districts and whatever. And what we're finding with AGRA, any of the teachers, they want the school health departments in those schools to be included, the school nurses. Matter of fact, that is an audience in itself. We've lost a lot of school nurses around the country because of a lot of things. And one of them, of an interest to them, absolutely is the vaporing and anything else that AGRA can help them understand and transcend into a program. The school nurses want to get involved. So I think we should really look at that entity. And then looking at the over the table, so that behavioral health specialists, the school nurses, the teachers, the coaches are talking about these wonderful potential webinars. If we get the staff adopting to it, the kids are going to adopt to it, not just the kids, but the staff.
And that's one thing we kind of considered too, is in talking with some of these advisors and teachers at FFA, is they're kind of like, you know, as a teacher, they're starting to have to take on all these different roles. They're not just teaching students, they're, in some cases, they're like counselors to students or trusted adults, or, you know, have to act as like a school nurse in some situations and stuff. So we definitely are interested in, you know, it's not just limited to if you're an ag teacher, you know, it's anyone who wants to learn. And it would be really cool, especially I feel like it would give some sort of having like a school nurse or someone of that expertise would kind of, I feel like would even heighten the already good curriculum that we're trying to make for students. But yeah, I agree. It is a multi-sectional approach.
Yeah, I would agree with that, because they're right there in the middle of those students on a day-to-day basis and can see much more how they're being used. It does not help on the vaping end that these companies are getting so slick with their packaging and trying to trick the adults, you know, and kids think it's pretty sneaky. So it just makes it that much more alluring, you know, for us trying to fight the battle.
And one last thing, I did also put that into the presentation too. There's a comparison aspect activity where it compares, you know, old cigarette ads and how they looked real fun. And, you know, kids nowadays are like, oh, well, big tobacco was trying to trick them. And then just putting side by side the vape ads that are like, no, they're doing the same thing. It's just you're not really realizing it because you're not taking a step back to see the similarities, you know. But yeah, it's been really interesting and enlightening to create the curriculum, and I'm excited for people to use it and hopefully make a difference.
Harry, I shared 2 links to 2 publications linking both vaping and depression and teen suicide, as well as cigarettes. I think one is 2021 and one may be a little bit more recent than that, but I think we've known in behavioral health for a long time, there's a linkage to the use of those substances and teen stress and crisis. So.
Okay, and we'll make sure to include those on our email with this video as well. All right, any other questions for Miss Abby? All right, we're going to go ahead and switch it over to Mr. Chad, who has been here before. But like I said, he is here on a different topic today. He has two different things that he's going to kind of talk about. One is the legacy film. It is mitigating stigma in the rural community, which he collaborated with Colorado Farm Bureau. And it's going to sound very odd for me to say that this film is beautiful, considering it's talking about mental health and completing suicide. But that when I got finished with it, there were so many different emotions because it was so beautifully done, but just the rawness of it from these individual farmers just being vulnerable, which you don't really ever see, really got to me. And then combined with that, Chad has a voucher program that, you know, many states are trying to instate and help with these farmers to get help. So Chad, I'm going to go ahead and let you start sharing, and he's going to start by sharing a little bit of information, and then we're going to watch just a portion of the film because it is 45 minutes, but we'll make sure that you guys get the link to be able to watch that later. All right, Chad, you go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here today. My name is Chad Reznicek, and I'm a behavioral health specialist with the Colorado AgrAbility Project and Colorado State University Office of Engagement and Extension. That's a big mouthful there, but the nice thing is my work allows me to collaborate and partner with organizations all across the Western states. For those of you familiar with the far sand regions, I'm part of Colorado's part of the Western Region Agricultural Stress Assistance Program. And then within Colorado, because we're embedded within Extension, we have lots of opportunities to do hands-on ground level work. And one of the great partnerships we've had is with the Colorado Agricultural Addiction and Mental Health Program. And I'm joined today by Kirsten Wulfsberg and Becca Edlund, and I'll let them introduce themselves here in a minute. But they are instrumental in this film. I was fortunate just to be asked to be part of it and wanted to be able to share it. I very much appreciate AgriSafe and all the work they've done to really reduce stigma by normalizing these conversations. And we know in our rural communities, we're never going to have enough capacity with professional services. So what we lack in quantity, we make up for, I believe, in quality. And the participants in this workshop today, in this presentation, I think represent everyone's commitment to being able to help our rural communities. We are fortunate in Colorado to have this camp program. It offers free therapy sessions for people in agriculture by providers that are committed to serving the agricultural populations and understand some of those unique strengths and stressors. Colorado is one of 20 states, I believe, right now that has an ag voucher program. And so with that, I will turn it over to my colleagues. I'll let Kirsten introduce herself first. She's one of my team members and a provider in the camp program. And then we'll turn it over to Becca to give some of the context behind this, because this was really her idea and her gift in putting this all together. And then after she provides some context, I'll go to share my screen and we'll share about 12 minutes of the video, and then hopefully we'll have a little bit of time for questions and answers. So Kirsten, if you want to introduce yourself, I'll turn it over to you.
All righty. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having us. Big honor. As Chad said, Chad and I actually are co-workers at this time, but actually during the filming of this video, we were not. My background is pretty much emergency medicine. I spent 25 years doing suicide assessments, 5 with child protection and a suicide crisis line, and then 20 years doing suicide assessments within the emergency room setting or the hospital setting. I started working with camp 2.5 years ago, I think, not quite, and received the training. My background, as you know, is not agriculture, but received some of the training, and it has just completely blown my mind. Working with people in agriculture has been an honor and a gift to me, and I just love it. So with camp, then I started also working with CSU Extension with Chad, and also through AgrAbility in July of last year. So that's kind of my background. I'm happy to answer any questions if anyone has any, but I'll leave it at that for right now.
Thank you, Kirsten. And Becca, would you like to give us kind of the backstory on how this came to be?
Sure. It's an honor to be here today. Kirsten and Chad are 2 of my favorite people. and really tremendous advocates in our agriculture. Kirsten is a fan favorite of our folks. I have members who walk up to me often and tell me about the work they're doing with her, which is incredible because our program's anonymous. So I don't actually get to know all of their stories. But I think one of the things I was thinking about this morning in terms of the origin of this video comes from asking honest questions. I think it's a really important thing, and one of the challenges in our culture, in behavioral health, specifically in agriculture, is that there's tremendous stigma. And so when COVID hit, we started asking questions about what the need was and what would meet that need. And one of the biggest things we heard consistently and asking again, like just open-ended, honest questions, was folks don't know us. And so if they have pursued counseling, they often hear things like, well, you can just get a job in town if you lose the farm or ranch. And obviously, if you're familiar with agriculture, that's not an option that feels safe or true, at least not with significant consequence. And so we started asking a lot of questions about what it would look like to create a safer space in behavioral health sphere. And one of those big tenets became this basic through line, which is persistent in the CAMP program, and that is a cultural humility training that is required of all of our counselors. Kirsten mentioned it a little bit, but in order to put an agriculturalist in front of a counselor, that counselor has to complete a 3-hour training. That said, not everybody can go through that training, not everybody has capacity, but one of the key access points in the state of Colorado to behavioral health resources is the Colorado Crisis Hotline. And we wanted to make sure that folks answering the phone would have some general context. And so this video is actually, the initial development of it was for the Colorado Crisis Hotline to give their clinicians just a very brief introduction to agriculture. And so our hope was to bring agriculturalists to the table to share their story. And I'm so thankful for those folks who were willing to do that in this video. It's terrifying to share really your most humbling, sometimes your most painful moments in such a public space. But because we were asking honest questions and we were creating space for folks to engage, we invited vulnerability, I think, and found folks who are willing to share their stories in order to help others. So I'm gonna let Chad take it away and happy to answer questions after the fact.
Great, thank you, Becca. And I will pull up the video here in just a second. Lastly, again, I just want to say thank you to AgriSafe for letting us share some of this. I appreciate that this is the first day of Mental Health Awareness Month, so I think that's fantastic. And I was very much inspired by AgriSafe sharing the Muckville documentary. I think anything that can be done to help share these stories and allow people to see the individuals behind this incredible industry and occupation is crucially important. So with that, we'll run about 12 minutes of the video. I'll try not to mess anything up on the tech end here.
Is there a mental health crisis in agriculture in Colorado?
Oh, I believe there is. People are very private. They don't like to talk about these sort of things.
Ranching is the love of my life. Yeah. Second to my wife, I got to say. When you're in this environment and you're up at sun up and you get to see all the, all the glory. I like the honesty, the truism of it. I like that cowboy lifestyle.
I am the chief gate opener and bottle washer for my husband. We're together all the time. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, there's not a lot of women that do what I do. Yeah. That's right. But all the farm women and ranch women that I know, they do it.
I'd rather be out in a 90, 100-degree day working with the cattle than sitting in an air-conditioned house on my desk. It's a lifestyle as much as it is a source of income.
When I found out what these symbols really mean, I almost stopped recycling.
My apologies.
These tiny symbols you see on
I've wanted to be a farmer since I could walk. It's who I wanted to be. It's who I was. It's everything I'd ever thought about through high school and college was being a farmer.
I think what's unique about agriculture in Colorado is how vastly different it is, depending on where you want to look at. What it looks like to farm in the Eastern Plains versus the Western Slope is vastly different. And so how do you achieve your goals with all these factors that are often beyond your control?
I think farmers and ranchers are exceptionally hardworking people. There's not a whole lot of industries and things you can do that require the same amount of input to hopefully get any output.
I mean, there's competition between ranchers. We help our ranchers out, but I'm going to have the best bull and I'm going to raise the best calf. And if my calf outweighs yours by 30 pounds, yeah, that was because of good management.
You'll see people out on a tractor in their fields till late hours of the night, but also stepping in to volunteer, go back and work some more.
Our crop never knows what day it is. It doesn't know it's Mother's Day, and it certainly doesn't know when a Saturday or Sunday fall within the growing season. We farm in windows, and those windows open and close quickly, and sometimes that comes at the sacrifice of family.
You're married to whatever you do because you have to be there 24/7.
Truly, our animals are not our pets, but we just love them like they're our children. So a lot of times in the morning, they get fed before we do.
Agriculture in Colorado is a $47 billion industry. I hear that figure thrown around a lot. What they don't take into account is 80% of those ranches, or maybe more, are small family-owned businesses.
If you travel around Colorado, you'll find century farms, which have been in the same family for 100 years. There's a lot of pride to be able to hand that off, and with it, the hope that every year it's getting better and you're continuing to build up that business and that legacy.
This vision that your grandparents, your great-grandparents had, homesteading, I mean, literally making it through all of the seasons, every year, all the droughts, all the flooding, and then passing it on to the next generation and having them take over and building it. The next generation has not only the responsibility, but the honor of maintaining what ranch or farm they had and growing it.
It's all about legacy. It's that ability to pass the family farm down. It's having your son grow up in your footsteps. It's me growing up in my dad's footsteps and my grandfather before him. It's a heavy burden sometimes to carry, but it's also a privilege.
I'm Jacob Walter. I grew up down here in southeastern Colorado on my family's cattle ranch, and it was always all hands on deck. You'd go to school all day, and then you'd go home, and you'd either be doing chores or you'd be working cattle. As soon as we could hang on to a saddle horn, we'd be sitting in the saddle and going, and it was a really good childhood. My grandpa started the ranch, and so I got to spend a lot of time with my grandma and grandpa, and I'd get off the bus, I'd run and get to see my grandma.
I'm a cattle rancher here in Los Animas County. I'm also the commissioner here, going on my second term. My wife and I have run cattle for probably 40 years, and 38 years. We've been married 39, so we've been running our own cattle for that long. It was just me and my kids and my wife, my right-hand man.
Our farm and ranch operation is located south of Eads, Colorado. We're about 60 miles from Kansas. Our son Jace has come back to farm with us, and he has taken on his grandpa's farm name, so he's known as Nagley Farms now.
My name is Mark Arnish, and I'm the owner here of Mark Arnish Farms, third generation family farmer here in Prospect Valley. And we're a family of German immigrants. My family originally immigrated to this country in 1952 from Austria and settled in this area, and we've been here ever since. Well, my dad had a lot of adversity in his farming career. He basically farmed through the 1980s, the farm crisis years, and he stayed lean. He didn't spend a lot of money. He worked real hard, was incredibly frugal, and he survived. And because he was able to be successful in the 1980s, that allowed me to start my farming operation in the mid-1990s.
My dad was a larger than life kind of guy. He was always, hardworking, but he was also a very caring individual. Be serving on the local FFA advisory board, involved with some different philanthropic groups in town whenever he could. Always willing to help a stranger, always doing those small acts of kindness and just looking out for those around him. 2.5 years after my grandpa had passed away, my dad had always been, helping around the ranch, but that's when he really fully took over. One of the things that really sticks in my mind was when I would see my dad sitting at that kitchen table till 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, crunching numbers, figuring out how you're going to make it work, how you're going to keep a family going, how you're going to carry on that legacy of agriculture.
2012 was when things, as they say, things kind of fell apart. For me, the situation was the long-term drought. Just year after year, we'd always managed to pay off our operating note, but it was getting to be more and more of a struggle, and it was taking more and more time to get it paid off, and we were having to put more on that note. I think the straw that broke the camel's back was, interestingly enough, the empty nest syndrome when our son went to college and he was the last one to leave the home. And I think that's just the final straw. And then wondering, is he going to come back? How are we going to keep this going if he doesn't come back?
Ranchers and farmers, they've got a commitment to that land and to that crop, whatever it is they're producing, whether it's corn or hay or cattle or sheep or hogs. They put their animals and their land first, and they leave it in better shape than the way they found them.
That connection to the land, often called the agrarian imperative, that's a huge drive for so many people. The theory behind it is it's sort of wired into people's DNA, that there's that purpose to it, and there's a sense of meaning, like you understand why you're doing that work and how important it is. There's so much of a drive to be able to maintain the land at all costs, to be able to share that with your family, to know that you're building something that you're going to pass on to the next generation. Like that part of the legacy, I think, is really important. The flip side of that is that's also what pushes people to take tremendous risks in terms of financial well-being, physical well-being, the long hours that you have to work, and that's very much fueled by that connection to the land. There's very few occupations that your success is so determined by factors beyond your control.
Watch what protein shakes do to your body.
This is a protein drink. You've got almond butter. Almonds have a
I have a plan A, B, C sometimes, and you get to the point where after so many years, it's like, why do I bother? That's my husband's point of view. It's like, yeah, we can do all the planning we want, and then boy, in a moment's period of time, everything's changed.
The stresses that come with ranching are many. The price of feed, drought, blizzards, the cattle market. You can lose $25,000 in a day.
You're gambling on the weather, you're gambling on the dollar.
A lot of times we're up against a storm or a deadline, and if that means running around the clock, we do it.
You can have a really nice spring, your crop can be growing, and you can be a week from being ready to go out into the field and harvest that crop, and you can have a hailstorm come in and completely decimate your crop.
Storm cloud comes up over the horizon, and within a few hours, it's gone.
You got no mortgage payment now. and you're going to have to go to your banker. You're going to have another operating note.
How do you pay your light bill? How do you pay your health insurance? How do you keep those people that you promised to pay them back still supporting you?
I can't let this fail. I can't drop the ball.
Sometimes the margins are really thin, and that's why we have other jobs.
I was a nighttime janitor at a local high school. I worked through the night and then work all day long with the cattle.
You have a drought so bad you can't find pasture, you can't afford hay.
Water's a huge issue. I know within 2 days I could have 40 head of dead cattle out there.
If you don't have grass for the cows to eat on their own, then you have to feed them or sell them.
Decades and the legacy of several generations lost like that.
My kids aren't involved in it because they see how much time it takes. They knew they could make a better living somewhere else. Yeah, there's a lot of stress. But it's also beautiful, so.
It's not just, income, it's an identity, honestly.
All right, so that's the first 12 minutes of it.
Of stuff in the comments. When I was watching this film, so many points are the same as what we teach in QPR. I think that would be a great combo to be able to show. Let's see here. All kinds of great job. Can't wait to watch the rest. We did put the link in there. Feel free to anybody who, if you want to unmute, or go ahead and post in the chat.
Yeah, I really encourage you all to watch the rest of the film. You get to see more about how the stories of these amazing producers kind of develop, more of the incredible work that Kirsten did in terms of some of her work as a therapist, engaging with some of that, and just the overall value, I think, of these individuals and their courage and willingness to seek out help and to share their stories with other people. So it's just really an honor to be even a small part of this, and again, an honor to be able to share it with you all today.
Yeah, very well done. We'll be sure to share it on all of our pages and in the email that comes to you guys. But then if you sign up for our newsletter, it always goes out in there as well. Chad, did you want to talk a little bit about the Ag Voucher program?
I'll turn it over to Becca and let her say a little bit more about that if you'd like, Becca. Sorry to put you on the spot there.
Hey, Carrie, I had one question about the film.
Yes.
First, God, beautifully filmed. You've got some great production value in that. And that tells the story so well. Is there any limitations of being able to use that film? I saw there it's linked on YouTube. Do we need to get permission from your team to use it in any setting or to share with other professionals?
And I'll defer that to Becca as well.
Okay, great.
The video as it stands is available. If anybody needs something different, would like to cut it in any way, we would just ask that they request that from us. And the purpose of that is that the folks who shared their stories, I'm sure many of you have known and seen in settings where someone's story was manipulated to communicate something that is not true. And so one of the key tenets, actually one family in particular that in this story had some very specific requests because one of their key business things, our mottos, is truth. It is a core tenet of their farm. And so whatever is produced with them in it, they want to make sure that it is true of their farm. It is true of agriculture. It is true of their family. And so with that said, we would ask if you're going to cut it in any way that you would request permission to do so. You can use the campforhealth.org in contact form. So with that kind of qualifier, as if you're sharing the whole video, please share as much as often wherever. There will be clips and things coming out to kind of tease and promote the film itself through the Colorado Department of Agriculture, as well as the Colorado Farm Bureau, to drive kind of hopefully increased viewership. My sincere belief is that this story is a really powerful one for allowing farmers and ranchers to be better personified in media. We often make farmers and ranchers out to be either heroines or demons, depending on your narrative. And this, I think, just allows them to be plain old human. And I love that about this film. Each of these people is so special to me. Kirsten, Chad, but the farmers and ranchers that are in this video did this because I asked them to. And I don't take that lightly. So I just ask that you be cautious with those stories. Sorry. The camp program, I'll just transition awkwardly as I wipe tears from my eyes. The camp program is a voucher program for the state of Colorado. It is only available in Colorado. I just need to qualify that. All of our counselors must be licensed in the state of Colorado. And I mentioned already, they have to have completed a 3-hour cultural competency. That cultural competency, or I like to call it a cultural humility training, is designed to kind of give a landscape of agriculture, is I think how I would have referred to it when Kirsten took it, for example. I'm not going to be able to ever, Chad, whoever teaches this will never be able to tell you every circumstance you're going to find a farmer or rancher in. But our hope is to give you a context for their world that might allow you to have some more comfortability around vocabulary, for example. We talk about the differences in agriculture. Words like workers or hired man may not be culturally familiar in a lot of settings. And so what does that mean to a farmer or rancher when they say operating loan, or when they talk about the pressure of losing the land that their great-grandfather homesteaded on, or that their cousin also lives on, you know, or maybe their cousin, their grandma, and their sister. So we talk about all of those aspects, and then beautifully, the land logic curriculum developed by Kayla Anderson, and Chad presents on this a lot, allows us to come in then with some clinical application of that kind of context. So how do you work through trauma when it is often physically defined in their land? So using beautiful tools like the aerial map of a farm or ranch, most farmers ranchers have a photo, an aerial photo of the farm. And so how do you use that as a tool? How do you use basic CBT tactics in an agricultural setting without using words that are sometimes stigmatized, like mindfulness or meditation? There's a lot of ways you can approach this in a way that is culturally approachable. Sorry, approach and approachable. Anyway, so using land logic and the just general kind of cultural awareness, the counselors then are set free. The program is anonymous, so each voucher is worth 6 sessions with a licensed counselor that has completed that competency. Right now we have, I believe, 12 counselors, and we are in really beautiful shape. The program has grown from barely eking out our first vouchers to we're going to spend all of our voucher dollars this year, which is terrific. It also has some limitations. So we have previously been very generous in who gets to use the program over and over again. We've kind of set up some boundaries on that. The program is only available to rural Coloradans and agriculturalists in Colorado. That is a limitation we've become more strict with recently, again, because we're actually reaching the population that is intended and need those dollars to be available to them. I think that's, Chad, is there anything else I should highlight in that?
I just dropped in the chat that last year, when you're talking about the progression of utilization, that last year there was almost 400 hours of services provided, and that's phenomenal. So obviously for us in Extension, we want to focus pretty heavily on prevention and upstream work and being able to help people before they get into tough spaces. But to know that we have this range of incredible resources available for our rural and ag populations in Colorado, it's really inspiring. And I really appreciate the work that's been done to keep that going. So hats off to you, Becca and Kirsten and everyone involved in the CAMP program.
So I'll add to that when I talk with a lot of my clients, I say, how has this program been for you? What is your experience? And they have all said, almost across the board, that they have appreciated talking to someone that they didn't have to spend half of the session explaining what they're talking about. And so they don't have to waste the time that could be therapeutic by explaining what their lifestyle is. And they've all of them have very much appreciated that.
A couple questions in the chat that I'd just like to answer. To reaffirm, it's the Colorado Agricultural Addiction and Mental Health Program. When we launched, we really had a focus on both addiction and behavioral health. We have some licensed counselors who are addiction certified therapists. They're terrific, really terrific. Most of our folks, though, most of our focus on the programmatic side now is purely individual counseling vouchers or family counseling vouchers. And that is because we have sufficient attendance. Also, when you think about how stigmatized behavioral health is in agricultural communities, addiction is through the roof. Beyond that, it is just a different conversation with such ingrained protections that are so hard to break through in that dialogue. So one-on-one counseling is proving to be a much more effective resource in that regard too. Another question that was asked was for talking to other programs about that. I would be happy to talk to anybody who has questions. I'm sure Chad would have some thoughts on what is different. I think the biggest thing that I have found is the cultural humility difference. When someone in a population that is experiencing high stigma or even just access limitations, knowing that when they talk to someone, they're going to have a positive experience specific to their lived experience is so, so, so important. And I think Kirsten can attest, I think any one of our counselors can attest that part of how they've grown is not actually through social media. Because of the stigmatized nature of behavioral health on social media, we maintain a social media presence purely because it is done. It needs to happen. But our primary source is actually word of mouth referral. And so Kirsten will hear from people because someone else shared their story of working with Kirsten, and Brooke will hear from someone because someone else shared their story about working with Brooke. And so I just want to encourage folks that are in this sphere always to ask the honest questions of the people that they intend to serve. Because if you aren't actually asking your intended audience what they need and meeting those needs honestly, not manipulatively, not in a contrived fashion, you will not effectively serve that population. I firmly believe that. So asking honest questions is first and foremost, because people know when you're being truthful. They know when you're being honest. They know when you are to be trusted. And if you blow smoke, they will just dismiss you. They will not take you seriously.
Rebecca, is the Ag Voucher program, is it strictly telehealth, or are they able to come in person?
It is not strictly telehealth, though 98%, I'd say maybe 99%. I have one counselor who pretty regularly sees folks in her community. She is known for being an agriculturalist in her community. And so she's had a few folks approach her who are particularly older. By and large, though, our population actually is drawn towards the anonymity of telehealth. And that is predominantly because most of our counselors, if they exist in a rural community, they're in a building that says mental health on the on Main Street. Not helpful when you're talking about stigma. There's tremendous opportunities in rural communities for integrated health services, and in those settings, we are seeing an increased in-person utilization of behavioral health services. So when you can go to the doctor and your counselor is in the same place, folks don't ask questions if you have cancer. Folks ask questions if you say you're going to a therapist. And so those two things we found tremendously helpful. So integrated health and then telehealth has been helpful at destigmatizing access.
Heidi wanted to know, what are the age ranges that you're seeing most common?
It's a good question. I am gonna look at Kirsten. I have actual data I did not pull today, but I think our average, so we only, because it's anonymous, we do it by visual identification. So Kirsten is supposed to, in a therapeutic session, look at the person in front of her. The average, or the by and large, is adult, which means that they're not a senior citizen and that they're over the age of 21. So, and again, that's when you're identifying them visually. So I would say we are firmly in the adult category.
Yeah, but I've actually had quite a few. I've had 4, I believe, that were 70 years or older. And I develop a relationship with them where they just tell me that.
Yeah, that actually is tremendous at recognizing the destigmatization of the service. A big part of how we got the ground that we did was because we were building the program inside Farm Bureau. It wasn't being built by a government agency. So we were already in a trusted space. Folks trusted us, and we initially dispersed the credit for the program massively. We got anybody with agriculture in their name to put their logo on our business cards because we thought that would destigmatize access, that folks wouldn't think, oh, I'm a member of Farm Bureau, so I know this program exists. Turns out folks wanted to know that Farm Bureau had done it, even if they weren't members of Farm Bureau, because they knew that Farm Bureau knew agriculture. And so we shifted our communication structures to really raise that element of it to the forefront. Not to say that we are 100% responsible. There were lots of people engaged in really beautiful ways. Extension, Rocky Mountain Farmers Union, the Colorado Cattlemen's Agricultural Land Trust, Colorado Beef Board, like lots of folks at the table. But it turned out folks wanted to hear a name that they recognized and trusted.
Chad put his contact info in the chat. Kirsten and Rebecca, I don't have yours, but if you could put yours in there too, I'll make sure that it gets out in our bulk email that we're going to send out. All right. Any other questions for Chad, Rebecca, or Kirsten?
I have. I'm sorry. I don't have a question. I just have to say that video does open doors of thoughts. And what I'm looking again is the domino effect that we have on family and friends. The domino effect of students from primary school, secondary school that are in agri studies. With those kids and what we see in the schools today, yeah, the stigma is there, but if they can have things that, like this video, that would empower them to engage in their story is absolutely important. And you can do that in group sessions, but again, just taking that video and showing the college students in Agra, but even those students, and you could say juniors and seniors and whatever, in high school would benefit. I think that this is really just a beginning for what you all are doing. I mean, the domino effect is here. But hit those schools.
Thank you so much. That's so kind. I did want to mention Wisconsin jumped in with their voucher program. The Wisconsin voucher program was started by Seeds of Hope grants by which was sort of the origin of that was Dr. Michael Rothman. It probably should have said his name sooner in any setting when we're talking about this. He does tremendous work in behavioral health and agriculture, but also we started our program modeling it after the Seeds of Hope grants that were still kind of in process, including Wisconsin. And one of the things that Wisconsin's program named was the importance of having the cultural humility aspect included, because one of the challenges they were seeing was folks using the program once and never coming back. Our recidivism rate is well over 4 vouchers. Most of our folks who start a voucher finish it, use all 6 sessions, and a few of them are recommended to come back to the program eventually.
All right, someone had asked if we're going to send out all the contact information from today's speakers, and yes, that will go out in a bulk email. I'm going to put each link to what they spoke about, so the film, the organization, Abby's training on there, all of that will be sent out in an email. And then Tara would like to just showcase that we are going to be having a webinar using a total worker health, farmer health approach to assessing ag worker well-being. That's going to be on May 14th from 12 to 1 Central Standard Time. I'll go ahead and put that in that bulk email as well, but it is in the chat if you want to click on it now. So
yes,
Tara has it up there.
Yeah,
Yes, go ahead.
this is yet another superstar coming out of Colorado. You guys got a lot of successes there. Dr. Kathy James, she's going to be presenting this research. And Chad and I got the opportunity to hear a short version of it in the WRSAP meeting. I highly recommend you come and hear this. This publication should be out soon. So join us for this webinar to hear her research on this topic for both producers and farm workers.
Yeah, Karen says, great job, Colorado. Colorado it's taking it by storm. Great job. All right, we want to thank everybody today for presenting and for attending. Our monthly meetings just keep getting more and more attended, and we can't thank you enough for sharing and helping us educate and protect our rural communities. So we will talk to you next time in June, who we have if you remember Man Therapy, I think that was in our first year with Amanda Room and Monique Coombs. They're going to give an update on Man Therapy. And then we're going to have Lacey Singleton, who has started a brand new organization called Sober Cowboy for those ranchers that are out there. So look for that for next month. We'll see you then.